In a dusty, one-room cabin in the Arizona desert, 11-year-old Sarah watched her father count out crumpled dollar bills with trembling hands. Each bill brought her closer to a fate she could barely comprehend but instinctively feared. The man across from him, with gold teeth glinting in the fading sunlight streaming through a cracked window, grinned as he circled Sarah like a vulture eyeing prey. "She's small for her age," he remarked, his voice oily, "but she'll grow into the work." Sarah's bare feet pressed into the splintered floor, her stomach churning from 3 days without food and the dawning realization of what was happening. Her father, drowning in gambling debts, was selling her to this stranger. "She's a hard worker," her father muttered, avoiding her gaze. "Never complains. Does what she's told." The gold-toothed man, Garrett, grabbed Sarah's chin, tilting her head as if inspecting livestock. His fingers reeked of tobacco and decay. Sarah jerked away, but the cabin's walls trapped her. "Feisty," Garrett chuckled. "My customer's like a girl with spirit." Sarah's blood ran cold. She'd heard whispers from other children about girls who vanished with men like this, taken to places where they worked until they broke or suffered worse in the shadows. "Papa, please," she whispered, but her father only shook hands with Garrett. "Deal's done," Garrett said, pocketing the money. "I'll take her now." The sound of approaching horses shattered the moment, heavy hoofbeats, fast and closing in. Garrett's smile faltered as he peered out the window. "Expecting company?" he asked. Sarah's father shook his head, as confused as she was. Through the cracked glass, Sarah saw a lone rider approach, his horse magnificent, his posture radiating authority. Garrett's hand moved to his gun. "If you've double-crossed me," he growled, but the fear in her father's eyes mirrored Sarah's own. 3 sharp knocks rattled the cabin door. "Open up," a deep voice commanded. "We need to talk." Garrett positioned himself behind Sarah, using her as a shield. Her father stumbled to the door, hands still shaking from counting blood money. As the door creaked open, a tall man stepped inside, Jackson Wheeler, the richest rancher in 3 counties, his name whispered in awe around town. His eyes swept the room, taking in the broken furniture, the desperate father, and Sarah trembling under Garrett's grip. "Well," Wheeler said quietly, "this changes everything." Wheeler's gaze locked on Garrett. "Put the gun down, Garrett." Sarah's heart skipped. Wheeler knew him by name. This wasn't a random encounter. "Jackson Wheeler," Garrett spat, his confidence cracking. "Should have known you'd meddle." Wheeler stepped forward, his voice calm but unyielding. "The girl stays. Whatever deal you made, it's off." Sarah's father protested weakly, "I got debts to pay. This is legitimate business." Wheeler's cold stare silenced him. "Selling your daughter to a child trafficker is legitimate?" The words hit Sarah like a blow. Child trafficker. The whispered stories were true, Garrett was taking her to a place she'd never escape. "I got no choice," her father whimpered. "They'll kill me if I don't pay." "How much?" Wheeler asked. 200, her father replied. Wheeler pulled out a roll of bills, counted out 400, and held it up. "The girl stays." Garrett's face twisted with rage. "You can't steal my property." He pressed the gun against Sarah's temple. "I'm leaving with the girl and your money." Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, trapped between men deciding her fate. Then, a piercing whistle cut through the air. Wheeler had blown a silver whistle, and within seconds, the thunder of horses surrounded the cabin. Shadows of armed riders moved past the windows. "You came prepared," Garrett said, his voice trembling. "I always am," Wheeler replied. "I've been tracking your operation for months, Garrett. Tonight, I caught you." Sarah realized Wheeler wasn't here for her specifically, she was evidence in his crusade against child trafficking. The sting of that truth hurt, but Wheeler's eyes softened as he looked at her. "I didn't expect to find a father desperate enough to sell his own daughter." Garrett, sweating, backed toward the door, still holding Sarah. A scraping sound came from the back wall. Someone was cutting through. Wheeler smiled faintly. One child's life is worth more than anything. As Garrett sneered, the back wall burst open. 3 of Wheeler's men stormed in, catching Garrett off guard. Sarah dropped to the floor as gunshots erupted. When the dust settled, Garrett was wounded, clutching his shoulder, and Sarah's father cowered in the corner. Wheeler knelt beside her. "You're safe now," he said gently. But Garrett's words as he was dragged away chilled her. "Her father owes money to worse men than me, the Castellano brothers. They'll come for their payment." The Castellano brothers were infamous, killers who made examples of debtors. Sarah's father owed them $500, and if he didn't pay by midnight, they'd take her instead to work off the debt in their establishments. Wheeler's face hardened. "How long until midnight?" "4 hours," her father whispered. "Then we have a problem," Wheeler said. "The Castellanos don't take no for an answer." As Wheeler's men secured the cabin, Sarah spoke up. "What if I disappear? Run where they can't find me?" Wheeler shook his head. "An 11-year-old alone in the desert wouldn't survive." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Better than what they'll do to me." Wheeler knelt to her level. "There's another option. I could adopt you, make you my ward. The Castellanos wouldn't dare touch a Wheeler." Sarah's heart stopped. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" Wheeler's voice was firm. "I've been looking for someone to inherit my ranch. Someone who deserves it." Horses approached. Scouts, likely reporting back to the Castellanos. "You have 30 seconds to decide," Wheeler said. "Stay and face them, or come with me and face something more dangerous." "What's more dangerous?" Sarah asked. "Being my daughter," Wheeler replied. Sarah looked at her father, who couldn't meet her eyes, and made her choice. "I'll take dangerous over dead." Wheeler handed her father a document, full custody transfer. Her father signed, severing their bond with trembling hands. "Sarah Wheeler," Wheeler said, testing her new name. "Remember it. It's your shield now." They rode toward Wheeler's ranch, but the sound of galloping horses grew louder. "They're not waiting until midnight," Wheeler said, spurring his horse faster. "The Castellanos are coming." Bullets whistled past as they reached a rocky outcrop. Wheeler pulled Sarah behind a boulder, rifle ready. 8 riders circled, led by the Castellano brothers, tall, thin, with cold eyes. "Send out the girl, Wheeler," one shouted. "She pays her father's debt." Wheeler's shot dropped a rider, sparking a firefight. "Why risk your life for me?" Sarah whispered as he reloaded. Wheeler paused. 20 years ago, I lost my daughter, Sarah, to cholera. She was your age. I couldn't save her, but I can save you." They were outgunned, ammunition dwindling, when distant thunder signaled hope. Wheeler's ranch hands, 20 strong, swept in, surrounding the Castellanos. "Stand down," Wheeler called. "You're outnumbered." But one brother raised a hidden derringer, aiming at Wheeler's back. "Look out!" Sarah screamed. The shot hit Wheeler's shoulder, and he stumbled. His men subdued the shooter, and Sarah tore strips from her dress to bandage Wheeler's wound. "Why adopt me?" she asked. "Because you have fight," Wheeler said. "The kind my daughter never got to use." The Castellanos were bound for trial. Wheeler stood, weakened but resolute. "Now we go home, Sarah Wheeler. You'll learn what it means to be one of us." As they rode toward the sprawling Wheeler ranch, Sarah saw her new home under the rising sun, a palace compared to her old life. "Is it always like this? People shooting at us?" she asked. Wheeler chuckled. "Maybe once a week." Sarah smiled. She'd started the day as property, she ended it as a daughter. Sometimes, being sold was the same as being saved.